Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this council meeting of December 15th, 2025 to order. And I will ask if you are able to please stand for the national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Please be seated. I would like to begin by reading a safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate council chambers to the nearest exit through the chamber doors. Obey all instructions given, and if assistance is required, please see the clerk or maybe your closest firefighter. Once you've evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of Town Hall. At this time, would you just check to make sure that your cell phones are on silent or turned off? And lastly, the Town of Lincoln Council meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. Closed captioning is available on all our videos by selecting the closed captioning button on the bottom right of the video. The Town of Lincoln, being part of Niagara Region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawandronk, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara and the Town of Lincoln stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. All members of council are in attendance, either present in the chamber or on Zoom. We have staff in attendance this evening. We also have in attendance Trevor Ferguson, good evening Trevor, from Deloitte, Leilani Lee Yates from the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, and Regional Councillor Rob Foster. Do members have any amendments to the order of the agenda? Seeing none, are there any declarations of interest? Do members have any announcements? Please remember, council members, that you have a limit of 3 items. The next speaker is Councillor Brunet. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor Easton, for the opportunity. I'll try to make this as quickly as possible, seeing that we have a full gallery. On Saturday, December the 6th, my wife and I attended the 3rd annual Debbie Eckert Memorial Christmas fundraiser hosted by Vineland Growers Cooperative in support of community care of West Niagara and Feed Niagara. There were approximately 550 people in attendance, all coming together for an evening of giving back. MC and comedian Joe Pilateri did a great job raising funds through the live auction, silent auction, raffle table, and their annual craft peanut butter Christmas tree. Many local sponsors, wineries, food trucks, Brad Rempel, Mobile Mixer, Blackburn Brewhouse, and live music by Broken Cadence all contributed to make this an enjoyable evening and a successful fundraiser for the community of West Niagara. On Tuesday, December 9th, Madam Mayor, I attended the Beamsville Lions Christmas party at the Lincoln Senior Center, along with my wife, my daughter, and 3 of our grandchildren. It was a wonderful evening with a service club that has served this community for over 86 years. They do many, many things throughout our community that go on behind the scenes. The Lions Breakfast, which will be starting up again in January 18th, 2026. The Lions Food Drive for Community Care of West Niagara, their Easter egg hunt, their Christmas tree sale. They celebrate Canada Day at Charles Daly Park every year, and they support youth sports up at the Beamsville Park on soccer pitches, fields, through the concession booth and their food pavilion. And lastly, Madam Mayor, last Thursday evening, I attended the Village of Hope Christmas dinner at the Calvary Gospel Church. Gave me an opportunity to see the recent reconstruction and additions to the Calvary Gospel Church. Just a beautiful facility. I know you and Councillor Pachariva were there for the ribbon cutting. I was unable to attend, so I was really glad to get an opportunity to see the new Calvary Gospel Church. And 300 turkey dinners were served by many volunteers of the Calvary Gospel Church and the Village of Hope. And all I would say, Madam Mayor, is we're very fortunate in this community to be able to be surrounded with organizations like Community Care of West Niagara and Village of Hope that give back to the community, especially at this time of Christmas. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mary Easton. I'll keep it brief as well. It's been a very busy couple of weeks, so I'll stick to just three announcements. So November 29th, I think we may have already announced this, I'm not sure, the tree lighting at the Fleming Center. It was a fantastic celebration, probably the biggest crowd I think I've ever seen there. So thank you so much to staff. It takes a lot of work to put that on. December 5th, I was at the Firefighters Turkey Raffle in Jordan. Another full house. What a great night. It was very enjoyable, and I actually won some turkeys that I was able to donate, so that was great. This Saturday, we had a lot of excitement happening all over our town with the annual Santa visit, and thanks so much to Lincoln Fire Services and to the Lions. You travel to each of the fire stations throughout the community, and it was just great to see it coming, to see the little kids, the excitement on their faces. And when Santa walked off the trailer up to the fire station and the little ones that ran up to him, it was priceless. So I want to thank you all very much for what you do every year and the happiness that you bring to the community. So thank you. Thank you, Mary Easton.
Thank you very much. Councillor Murray.
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. I'm going to give a shout out to the museum today because there's a contingent from the museum there. I wanted to give them my huge congratulations for a phenomenal 2 events that I attended over the past month. One was the Starlight Market, and it was, again, an incredible event. The weather really helped us out a lot. Biggest attendance that they've ever seen there, lots of really great vendors. It was really a nice way to kick off the season and then walk down the road a little bit for the tree lighting in Jordan. It was a great experience, and that was really just capped off by the Deep Roots dinner that happened just earlier this month, and congratulations to them as well for that fundraising event. That was a huge success, I think, and I appreciated being able to be part of it. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Theatre Bacchus, which is a local theatre company that did their inaugural performance of A Christmas Carol at the Beamsville BDSS site, and I'm so excited to see live theatre right here in Beamsville, and thank you to them for inviting us to participate in that as well.
Thank you very much. Much of what's been said has already been said, but Deep Roots dinner, I'd like to shout out to the councillors that were able to attend also. I think it's great that they take the time and support that museum committee. Turkey raffle, man, I can't remember the first one I went to, but they do seem to get better every year, bigger, better. Shout out to the firefighters and those involved with that. And that Heritage Village Parade on November 30th. My first time, I thought it was pretty interesting, pretty neat. Tons of opportunity there to expand that. It's a extremely safe route. I I think I saw 2 cars that we had to deal with, but, it was an interesting experience for myself. Thank you to all that make all these community events happen.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. On November 22nd, and I saw you there at the first Beamsville Scouts Fish Fry, and that was a fundraiser to send the troop to the World Jamboree in Switzerland in 2026. Of course, I was at the Deep Roots dinner and shared greetings for you, and Councillor Murray did an excellent job as MC for the evening. And then on November 24th, represented yourself at the ringing of the bell to open the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital in Grimsby. That was a special event for me because I had been involved with the Founders Club at Peninsula Ridge that put on Jazz on the Ridge as a fundraiser. The night they had the vigil at Grimsby Secondary School, we still had our business and provided the food for the event, and involved with Project X-Ray, and the kids were born there, and it's just, I don't want anyone to get sick by any means, but if you do get sick and you go there, it is fantastic. It's stunning. So and then also on council with Councillor Foster, when we made that decision to put the money aside. And, it did take a little time to get there. We had some people sending us emails asking for their money back. But like anything, good things come to those who wait. So thank you very much.
It's quite amazing that this goes on with the enthusiasm that you demonstrate. Item number 8 is proclamations, and we have no proclamations this evening. Number 9 is recognition and achievements, which is the reason, those of you who are watching, we have a chambers that's pretty full, about 3/4 full. And so there is a bit of a change in the order of the awards being presented tonight, but the Chief Hudson is in charge, so we're going to be fine. He'll respond as I call them out. Some people are more dressed up than others, and that's because we have important awards like the Provincial Fire Services Awards. And once complete, our CAO will provide introductory comments regarding the above and beyond awards. So, Adam Strecker. Where is Adam? Step forward, Adam, so that we can all see you and turn around. Adam is wearing his 3/4 length jacket this evening. The fur collar. Adam is receiving his 25-year Provincial Fire Services Long Services Award. And as a long-serving member of the Station 61 in Beamsville, this member started with Lincoln in March 1999. And in September 2004, he joined Mississauga. What happened there? He joined Mississauga as a full-time suppression firefighter. Retired from Lincoln Fire in August of this year. So please welcome Adam Strecker to his award as he stands beside the chief. And the chief will present him with his 25-year Provincial Fire Services Long Service Medal. All right, we have two more awards. And the first one is Rodney Stevenson, a 25-year Provincial Fire Service Long Service Medal. And Rodney is a long-serving member of the Fire Station Number 62 in Camden, starting in Lincoln in March 1999. Rodney has climbed through the ranks with Lincoln Fire and currently holds a position of captain. Rodney will be retiring on December 31st of this year. Please welcome Rodney, and as he receives his 25-year Provincial Fire Services Long Service Medal. Rodney, if you would remain there, we're going to try and coordinate the photographs a little bit. And now I'd like to call up Don Sharon. Don is a 35-year service, and he's going to be receiving the 35-year Provincial Fire Services Long Service Bar. Don, if you just stay by the chief. For those of you who don't know, but I'm sure everybody knows who Don is, but still, to be recognized, he started his firefighting career with the City of Hamilton as a career firefighter in April 1989. He then joined Lincoln as volunteer firefighter in April 2005, where he was assigned to Station 61 in Beamsville. In 2023, Don started as Lincoln's first full-time chief training officer, where he remains to date. Please, if you wouldn't mind coming down, Rodney, again, and we'll take the pictures together. But the chief is, if he hasn't presented it, he has presented Don with his 35-year long service bar. So, to the two of you. I'd like to turn to CAO Mike Kirkopoulos to speak about the Above and Beyond Awards and make some presentations. Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and good evening to members of council and to everyone here in attendance. Our first award is the Customer Service Award, and the recipient of that award is Tanya Lamb. Tanya was nominated by Kathy McGrath, and I'm just going to read out your nomination, Tanya. It is with great appreciation that I nominate Tanya for the Customer Service Award. She consistently demonstrates exceptional service to both internal and external customers and truly embodies the spirit and philosophy of the town's customer service strategy. She is collaborative, attentive, and resourceful, always willing to go the extra mile to find effective solutions and support others. She has a talent for anticipating individual needs and having it ready before you even ask for it. Her attention to detail and commitment to excellence make her a valued resource for staff and community members. She listens carefully to understand your needs, responds with empathy and efficiency, and ensures that everyone feels respected and supported. In addition to her outstanding service, she consistently represents the town's strategic direction, aligning her daily work with broader organizational goals. Her contributions reflect not only her dedication to customer service, but also her deep commitment to the town's success. Tanya's professionalism, positive attitude, and collaborative spirit make her an exceptional ambassador for the town and a most deserving recipient of this award. With every public encounter, she represents the corporation well. She listens, shows care and compassion, responds with professionalism, and gets back to people in a timely manner. Before I submitted the nomination, I shared it with Chief Hudson to see if he agreed, and his response was, "I agree 1,000,000%. So congratulations, Tanya. So we'll ask you to come up and get your award, but I'm told I have to read them all first, and then we'll do it. And then you can dry the tears off. Our next award is the Leadership Award, and that goes to Chief Greg Hudson, and nominated by Kathy McGrath on behalf of the entire fire EMT. So, round of applause for Chief Hudson. I will also read this nomination. It is with great respect and admiration that we nominate Fire Chief Greg Hudson for the Leadership Award. Chief Hudson exemplifies outstanding leadership through his integrity, professionalism, and genuine dedication to his team and community. He leads by example, fostering a culture built on trust, respect, and continuous learning within the department. He actively encourages team members to pursue their own growth by identifying training opportunities, recommending relevant courses, and facilitating participation that expands knowledge and networking within fire services. As a mentor, he provides guidance and encouragement that empowers others to grow, develop, and take on leadership roles of their own. He actively listens and entrusts staff with the authority to make decisions. He provides constructive and encouraging feedback. His trust and mentorship leave staff feeling valued, capable, and motivated. Chief Hudson is respected for his calm, decisive approach and his ability to inspire confidence, both in operations and challenging situations. His commitment to excellence has strengthened training, improved operations, and enhanced community safety. Through his vision, collaboration, and dedication, Chief Hudson has earned the respect of peers and proven to be a leader, not just in his community, but across the province. Beyond his vision and steady decision-making, Chief Hudson brings a sense of humor and positivity that lifts people up, often providing laughter exactly when it's needed most. His ability to balance seriousness with levity creates an environment where people feel valued, motivated, and connected. Above all, his genuine care for people and passion for service make him a true role model that empowers a strong, resilient, and dedicated team that strives to meet that example every day. Congratulations, Chief. The Project of the Year Award for 2025 goes to Soarizon Park, and specifically Courtney Corbeil, Madison Daly, and Olivia Rosima, nominated by Paul Diani. I am pleased to nominate Olivia Courtney, and Madison for the Award of Excellence in recognition of their outstanding work on the development of Soa Rizon Park. Their collaboration has been instrumental in bringing to life a space that honors Indigenous history, fosters community connection, and embodies the values of innovation, reconciliation, and public service. From the earliest visioning phases of the park, Olivia, Courtney, and Madison demonstrated leadership and dedication. They worked closely with Indigenous partners and cultural advisors to ensure the park would reflect the legacy of the neutral nation, the original stewards of the land, by integrating design features such as a longhouse-inspired shade structure, palisade-inspired village references, native plant rain gardens, interpretive signage, and artworks by Indigenous-led artist teams. In doing so, they showed deep respect for history and culture while helping our community move forward in the spirit of reconciliation. Their efforts went beyond design and construction. Olivia orchestrated stakeholder engagement, making sure the voices from Indigenous communities, local residents, and partner organizations were heard. Courtney managed logistics and oversaw the coordinating of funding partners and contractors, helping to keep the project on track and within budget. Madison led the interpretation and education components, ensuring the park serves as a vibrant space for learning, gathering, and reflecting long into the future. The result is more than a park. It is a living legacy site, a gathering place, one of belonging and understanding. Olivia, Courtney, and Madison embody excellence in public service through teamwork, culturally informed innovation, and the creation of a meaningful public asset. Congratulations. And last but definitely not least, the CAO Award for Excellence, and the recipient is Madison Daly. Yeah, sure, that's good. And that nomination was made by Shannon McKay and supported by Paul Deaney. It is with great pleasure that I nominate Madison for the CAO's Award of Excellence. Madison has been instrumental in bringing to fruition numerous community projects throughout her time with the town. In particular, a significant placemaking project, the development of Soa Rizon Park. This cultural space is an important first for the town, ensuring both the preservation and revitalization of Indigenous histories. From the outset, the project challenges were significant: a limited budget, changing timelines, diverse stakeholder interests, and a high community impact. Yet Madison approached every obstacle with grace, with professionalism, and an unwavering commitment to get it done. She literally rolled up her sleeves, and on more than just one occasion to get the work done, she consistently demonstrated exceptional leadership and a resilience in managing a complex, unique, and sensitive park development. Her ability to listen deeply, build trust, and foster collaboration ensured that all voices were heard and respected. Through her tireless efforts and thoughtful communication, she navigated sensitive issues with tremendous care and consideration, turning potential roadblocks into creative opportunities. This achievement is just the latest example of Madison's dedication, integrity, and ability to lead under pressure. Her work has set a new standard for excellence and collaboration within our organization and externally with new and important community partners. For these reasons, I am proud to nominate Madison for this award. Congratulations, Madison.
Thank you very much, Mr. CAO. You have, do you actually have awards that you would like to present? And then following that, we'll have the photos. All right. Since we have a big crowd here tonight, at this time, I also want to recognize Lincoln's operational leader, the leader of the corporate leadership team. And some of you may be familiar with the fact that this is, I feel like somebody's burning a hole in the left side of my face. Mr. Kirkopoulos is the CAO of the town of Lincoln and has been such for the last 10 years. When he first came here, if a CAO lasted in a municipality for 3 years, it was a remarkable event. Yesterday, December the 14th, was Mike's actual 10 years. And on the occasion of his 10th anniversary of dedication to accomplishing council's strategic directions in an annual work plan, I feel that it is important, and council believes that it is important for us to acknowledge him. Several of Mike's colleagues reached out to share their thoughts. Some of them you can read on social media. If any of you have had anything to do with him, you already know the type of person he is, the integrity that he applies to each and every problem that needs to be solved. He's put us on the map from an operational perspective in the region and beyond. We're no longer a small town, but we are a community that is vibrant, progressive, innovative, and well-respected. So would you please give Mike Kirkopoulos a round of applause and our community thanks. And we will take a few moments to catch up on some of the photographs, but I do have a certificate for Mike recognizing his 10 years of public service to the town of Lincoln. Also, I recently received a letter from the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, also known as CAMA, asking that I assist in recognizing Mike on an important milestone to highlight and acknowledge his continued support of the profession. Mike is very active in CAMA. He's dedicated to honoring and celebrating the dedication of members to public service and to municipal management. The awards are given based on the duration of full-time paid employment in municipal government, specifically in management roles such as CAO or reporting directly to one. And this award from CAMA recognizes the 10-year mark for Mike, but tonight we wish to recognize Mike in total with his 15-year service pin. So, you know that Mike's never short on words. So I think the least, after bombarding him with all these surprises, we should give him a few minutes to respond. After all, he's had 30 seconds to think of a response. Go ahead, Mr. CAO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I guess to you and to members of council and to everyone here this evening. Usually I like to have something a little prepared, before I speak about certain things, but in this particular case, I am shocked, I'm surprised, I'm humbled and grateful, but it's a testament to the people in this room this evening. I'm just the face of a lot of things. I'm really that spokesperson on top of soapboxes at times that gets the opportunity to speak. But really, it's a testament to the men and women that work for the town of Lincoln. If I look at the awards that began this evening, my sincere and immense gratitude go out to the men and women of our fire service, a lot of you know, I have a soft spot for our fire service, and I continue to support all of you, and you really are the true heroes. And so from me to you, my sincere thanks for all you do and continue to do. You're the ones oftentimes, and you've heard this before, running out to do things when the rest of us are taking cover or running inwards to stay safe. And so from me to you, thank you. And to this evening's award recipients, Tanya, Chief Hudson, Courtney, Madison, Olivia, and Madison for a second time, or a third time. It seems like all I'm doing is giving you awards, Madison, for all the work you're doing. Again, some incredible work. It's easy to sit up here and look good and take these accolades when we have such great staff that do great things. So last but not least, of course, I've been fortunate to work with a great council over the last 10 years. Some faces have changed, some have remained the same. Thank you for entrusting me and putting your trust in me on behalf of residents as well. So thank you.
So, Madam Clerk, we'll entrust you with the charge for the photographs and whatever else you have up your sleeve. Well, the evening was certainly richer for all of your attendances, no matter what your reason. Thank you very much. Counselors, we'll just wait for a couple of minutes until everything settles down, then we'll begin on item 10. Thank you very much. We're at item number 10, delegations and presentations, and we'll now consider item 10.1. If you would come to the podium, Trevor. Trevor Ferguson is here from Deloitte. He is in attendance to present the 2025 external audit plan. And before we proceed with the presentation, the Manager of Finance and Deputy Treasurer will provide introductory comments. Kate Hanna, would you please come up as well? Or you can speak from where you're at. That's fine. Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you. Sorry. So, good evening, members of council. Every year, the auditor presents the annual audit plan to council as a component of the audit process. We are pleased to introduce Trevor Ferguson from Deloitte, who will guide you through the 2025 audit service plan.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I am starting to get a complex. This is the second time I've come to present at Lincoln, and everybody has left just before I come to the podium. I thought auditing was exciting. Apparently, not everybody else feels the same way. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here. Just getting the presentation up.
And we're just going to ask council to proceed with a majority vote to extend the speaking time until your presentation is completed. And I'll just have a show of hands there. And thank you, that carries. Thanks.
Thank you. You probably won't need it. I'm intending to keep my remarks brief, but I do appreciate that. As the presentation comes up, I'll just hit a couple of highlights for a few things that I wanted to speak to. First of all, we've had some great planning discussions with Charlotte and Kate and others with regards to changes and things going on at the town over the course of the year, and that's really helped out our planning process, so we do appreciate that. There are no changes in accounting standards or audit standards impacting our audit of the town's financial statements for this year. So that's always a good thing. I am literally only going to talk to one slide, but of course I welcome questions at any time on anything, and I'll be happy to go through anything in more detail, of course, as you wish. So with respect to our audit scope in terms of engagement, we'll be providing you with opinions on the financial statements of the town, the library, the trust funds, and the business improvement area. So those are all the engagements that we'll be providing you with audit opinions on. As I mentioned on the bottom left-hand corner of this page, we just highlight that there were no changes noted with respect to our audit approach. That is because there have been no changes in audit or accounting standards. With respect to materiality, so a quick refresher on what materiality means. So we'll be providing you with an opinion on the fairness of the presentation of the financial statements in all material respects, excuse me. So what that means is we're not looking at every penny. We're not looking at every single transaction. But every single transaction does have an opportunity to be selected for audit testing as part of our procedures. So we perform our audit with the concept of materiality in mind. So we've estimated our materiality to be roughly $1.4 million. We'll update council as what the actual materiality that we end up using is. It'll be in and around that benchmark. So what that means is that if we find an error or a combination of errors in your financial statements that add up to greater than that amount, if they are not corrected, we would consider your financial statements to be materially misstated. We'd have to issue a qualified audit opinion and things would get messy. So we don't anticipate anything like that, of course, but if we do identify any misstatements that are greater than 5% of our materiality, so 5% of that 1.4 million, we'll bring it to the attention of council as part of our year-end results reporting, whether or not it's corrected by management. Just in the bottom middle section here, just with respect to audit risks, we follow a risk-based audit approach, so everything is a risk to us. This is by no means a comprehensive list of our audit risks. These are just some of the more significant ones that we want to bring to your attention. Revenue recognition and management override of controls, the first two noted here. In Canadian audit standards, those are presumed risks of fraud. That's for any audit of any financial statements in Canada that's not specific to the town. So what we do is turn those into significant risks, and we do a lot of testing in each of those two areas, particularly around management override of controls. The theory being there is that you could have the best possible internal control system, but if there's an opportunity for management to override that system, then the system could be considered useless. So some of the things that we're looking at there are around journal entries and around management estimates. So particularly around management estimates, we'll be doing a look-back test. So we'll look at all the estimates that were, not all of them, but most of the estimates that were made as part of your 2024 financial statements and see what the outcome of those estimates was. The idea is to see if there's any biases and whether management regularly overstates, understates, whatever it may be. The other thing around journal entries, that's another opportunity where in theory management could override the internal control system in place. So first of all, we ask management to provide us with all the journal entries that were prepared over the course of the fiscal year, and then we do a reconciliation process to make sure that we actually got all of the journal entries that were entered into over the course of the year. That's a complicated process, but it's something that we need to do. And then, while not considering materiality, journal entry testing is the one area of our audit where we do not look at materiality. We're basically looking for areas where there were transactions outside of the normal course of business, things that may look suspicious, prepared or approved by people not usually involved in the journal entry process, all kinds of things. So we'll be looking for anything like that, and of course, if we do identify anything suspicious, we'll bring it forward. And the third point is just around management judgments and accounting estimates. In any set of municipal financial statements, there are a lot of estimates that go into their preparation. Your employee future benefits liability, you use an actuary to help estimate what that is. Your asset retirement obligations, there's lots of estimates that go in there. Other accrued liabilities, your allowance for doubtful accounts, the amortization rate that you set for your capital assets, all kinds of estimates that go into the preparation of the statements. We're going to test to make sure that those estimates are reasonable and that the process for developing those estimates is also reasonable. So as I said, that's by no means a comprehensive list. That's just some of the bigger ones that we want to bring to your attention. And on the far right-hand side, what we've done is just to highlight some of the technology that we're going to be using as part of the audit. As I'm sure you can imagine, we get lots of questions about what kind of technology you're going to be using as part of the audit. So just very briefly, I'm just going to touch on the bottom three, Deloitte Omnia and Omnia Data. The first one, those are our audit software. That's what we'll be using for our audit testing and for the journal entry testing. GenD, that is our internal artificial intelligence. So that's not out there in the external World Wide Web. It's not ChatGPT. It's nothing like that. It's very internal, and it doesn't learn. So what we'll be using it for is for summary of minutes, because when we look at council minutes and committee minutes, we need to review them to see if there are any financial risks, perhaps liabilities that may need to be recorded or disclosed in the financial statements, things like that. So we use GenD to summarize the minutes that are used throughout the course of the year, and of course we go back and check those summaries to make sure that they're appropriate, and we tell it what we want it to summarize and what we want it to look for. It's a really neat tool. Deloitte Tie-Out, that's, again, it's a nerdy time to be an auditor. There's some exciting technologies coming through, so these are the first time we're using Tie-Out and Project Zero. Tie-Out is for us as your auditors, so what that means is that when we get the financial statements from management, we can tie them directly into our file, directly into the lead sheets. If we get a second version of the financial statements with some changes and whatnot, Project Tie-Out will directly tie in those statements again, and it'll only flag any numbers that have changed for us, eliminating the need to go forward and check every single thing again, and you only need to look at what numbers changed. So that's a pretty neat tool. Project Zero is for our clients. So what this does is if we select, in the past we may have selected an entry that was then subsequently reversed a few days later. So what Project Zero does is before we select our samples, we'll run our samples through Project Zero to see if there are any reversing entries later on on in the process. So gone are the days when we'll be asking a client for a backup for a particular journal entry, and they'll say, well, you know what, we reversed it a couple of days later, pick another sample. So we don't need to do that anymore. So that'll save management a lot of time throughout the audit process. So those are some of the more significant things that I wanted to present today as part of our audit plan presentation. There are a lot more pages in this document. I'd be happy to go through anything in more detail, of course, but I understand that this is not quite as exciting as what preceded me on the agenda this evening. So I'm going to stop there, but I'm happy to go through anything and take any questions.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Councillors, are there any questions to this part of the presentation? Councillor Murray.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the exciting presentation. I agree with you, that software is pretty cool stuff. I just wanted, one of the things that is one of the lower risks, it does comment in here that you will ask council for their views about the risk of fraud. I don't remember being interviewed in the past. Is that a new step, or is that only only some councillors are asked, or what does that look like?
So it depends on, we do it differently, and we change it up every year to be, we're required in the audit standards to incorporate an element of unpredictability. So one of the things that we'll probably do as part of the process this year, it's not the best to ask these questions in an open forum. So what we'll probably do is to ask the clerk to help us send an email to a few of the members of council just to ask for direct responses.
Go ahead, Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you very much, through you, to the delegation. So I'm just curious, it looks like there's a lot of work ahead of you. How long does this typically last?
So we've already done the interim audit, which took a week, and the year-end audit will take about 3 weeks. So from start to finish, there's a lot more work for management to do to be able to get ready for the audit, to prepare the financial statements and all the necessary schedules. And then during the course of that 3-week period, when we audit all the entities, that's when we'll be doing all our sample selections and whatnot. So that's when our actual testing will take place, and my manager and myself will be reviewing the files, and we'll be able to turn it around reasonably quickly thereafter.
Okay, perfect. And through you, another question, just with respect to revenues and anticipating forecasting, you're going to be using previous years as well to compare actuals versus realities?
Yep.
Or actuals versus estimates, sorry.
That's correct. So,
Okay.
so we test revenue 2 different ways. So we do kind of what you're referring to is what I would call a substantive analytical procedure, where we develop an expectation, whether that's budget, whether that's prior year, whatever the best estimate for what we think the revenue should be this year for any particular revenue line. And then if it's within the threshold that we think, then we don't do any further testing for that particular procedure. We also do detail testing as well, where we're looking at copies of, not for tax revenue, but for other sources of revenue. We're looking at particular invoices, grants, whatever it may be. So yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. There being no further questions, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Murray, that Council approve the external audit plan for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, as presented by Deloitte. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Madam Mayor, the vote is now open. It's just not showing up on the screen right now, but the vote is open. Councillor Rajima, can I get your vote, please?
I'm in favor, thank you.
Thank you. And I will close that vote. That carries, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The vote is carried. Well, now, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now consider item 10.2. We have Leilani Lee Yates, the CAO Secretary Treasurer of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, in attendance to provide updates. Welcome, CAO Lee Yates. We're pleased to have you here this evening. I'm just wondering, Madam Clerk, if we could have the screen lowered. Well, I had spoken with Ms. Lee Yates a few weeks ago when we started to see the information coming down from the province and the potential impact that it could have on our organization of the Conservation Authority and even our relationship with the NPCA. So I'm very, very pleased that you're here this evening. Councillor Foster and I heard your presentation at the region last Thursday, so I think you're going to be very busy delivering this message. We look forward to hearing what you have to say this evening. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. My name is Leilani Lee Yates. I'm the CAO Secretary Treasurer for the NPCA. And thank you for the opportunity to provide you with an overview of the province's proposal for establishing the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency and Regional Conservation Authorities and NPCA's key concerns with the proposal. In preparing our comments to the province, myself and our chair, John Metcalf from Haldimand County, attended information and roundtable engagement sessions with Provincial Conservation Authority and municipal staff, and our comments on the proposal are shared among other conservation authorities and municipalities. On December 5th, our board passed a resolution opposing the proposed regional consolidation of conservation authorities because the proposal lacks sufficient justification, would significantly diminish local governance, and fails to recognize the effectiveness and efficiencies already achieved with existing watershed-based models. Further, on December 11th, Niagara Region Council also passed a motion to oppose the proposed consolidation. Within our watershed, we also have City of Hamilton and Haldimand County, and both those municipalities have also passed resolutions opposed to the consolidation. Within the proposed Western Lake Ontario Conservation Authority, in which we would fall, would be Hamilton Conservation, Halton, and Credit Valley Conservation. And both Hamilton Conservation and Credit Valley Conservation Boards have also passed resolution in opposition to the proposal. And Halton met today, so I'm not sure what that outcome is yet. So I'm just going to touch on what we call Bill 68, which is where the province has established the ability to form the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency, as well as the proposal for consolidating the 36 conservation authorities to 7. And from the province's perspective, the proposals intend to improve conservation authority systems to get shovels in the ground faster for homes and infrastructure, while strengthening the vital role CAs play in managing watersheds and protecting our communities from flood and other hazards. So as I noted through Bill 68, recent amendments were passed in November that set the parameters to establish the Provincial Conservation Agency that would provide centralized leadership and oversight over all conservation authorities. The agencies to include 5 to 12 members appointed by the Lieutenant Governor and serve up to 9 years in total. There we go. Sorry, I'm a bit behind. The objects of the agency relate to the transition to the Regional Conservation Authority framework and the oversight of Conservation Authority operations, finance, fees, policies, standards, strategic planning, and implementing a standardized and centralized system for processing development permit applications. The agency may also issue directions to conservation authorities governing their operations, including programs and services, budgeting, asset management, and strategic planning. Under the amendments, a chief executive officer will be appointed by the province, and the CAO can appoint employees, arrange for facilities, equipment, and obtain expert and technical services. The Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks may fund the agency. It's our understanding at this time that the province intends to fund the agency for the first couple years. The agency may also establish and require payment of fees related to its performance of duties, so charge back to conservation authorities, and the agency may recover costs and expenses by apportioning costs to conservation authorities. So in identifying the boundaries of the 7 proposed regional conservation authorities, the province developed these criteria that primarily focus on natural watershed systems, keeping existing conservation authorities whole wherever possible, aligning with source protection regions, and maintaining strong connections to local hydrology and drinking water protection. Currently, Ontario's 36 conservation authorities are organized based on local watersheds, crossing municipal boundaries, and each CA operates independently, governed by a board of municipally appointed representatives. We remain one of Ontario's best tools for balancing the province's urgent housing needs with the equally urgent imperative of watershed protection and climate resilience. Under the current system, more than half of all municipalities in areas served by CAs fall within the jurisdiction of 2 or more conservation authorities. And according to the province, this results in unnecessary duplication and diverts resources from frontline conservation work and service delivery. If the proposed regional consolidation is implemented, this would be reduced by 63%. And the 7 proposed regional CAs would be Lake Erie, Huron-Superior, which also includes Lakehead Conservation Authority up in Thunder Bay, Western Lake Ontario, Central Lake Ontario, Eastern Lake Ontario, the St. Lawrence, and Northeastern Ontario. So under this proposal, the MPCA would fall under the Western Lake Ontario RCA, along with Hamilton Conservation Authority, Conservation Halton, and Credit Valley Conservation. And the boundaries extend along the Western Lake Ontario shoreline from Niagara through Halton and Peel, encompassing both urban and rural watersheds that support the Greater Toronto-Hamilton corridor. It would also include the Niagara Peninsula Source Protection Area, the Halton-Hamilton Source Protection Region, and the Credit Valley Source Protection Area, which is part of the Credit Valley, Toronto Region, and Central Lake Ontario Source Protection Region. The regional CA would cover approximately 500,000 hectares of land and approximately 2 million people. The new watershed boundaries would include portions of 5 upper-tier municipalities, 3 single-tier municipalities, and 25 lower-tier municipalities, and currently the 4 governing boards include a total of 53 members. For Niagara ourselves and our watershed, we span over 242,000 hectares of land and includes 15 municipalities and approximately 500,000 residents. We encompass approximately 90 kilometers of the Lake Erie shoreline, 50 kilometers of the Lake Ontario shoreline, the Niagara River, portions of the Niagara Escarpment, and the northernmost range of the Carolinian Life Zone. There are nearly 5,000 kilometers of water courses in our watershed that are part of 3 major drainage basins, being Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and Niagara River. And together, these interconnected water systems form the hydrological function within our jurisdiction. So in general comparison with the 3 other conservation authorities in the proposed Western Lake Ontario RCA, MPCA has the largest watershed jurisdiction with the least number of staff and the smallest operating budget. In terms of holdings, MPCA and CVC have similar sized CA land holdings, followed by Conservation Halton and Hamilton Conservation Authority with the largest land holdings. With the 2 Great Lakes shorelines, the MPCA jurisdiction represents the largest length of coastal shorelines and communities. All 4 CAs offer similar watershed-based programs and services, but scaled to local needs. And in the last several years, particularly for us at MPCA, we have focused on operational improvements through updating our planning and permitting policies, updating corporate policies, developing new guiding strategies, enhancing procedures, and implementing other modernization initiatives, including investments in software and data management. So we have set an example for how other conservation authorities can implement best management practices, and we do remain committed to improving the delivery of our programs and services for the health and well-being of our watersheds and communities. So through our review, we do support the proposed provincial investments in technology, standardization, and modernization for conservation authorities. However, this regional framework would create complexities and risks to local municipal representation in decision-making, local expertise, and delivery of programs and services. So as such, at this time, the MPCA does not support the proposed framework. While it's understood that the agency and the proposed framework are intended to help get shovels in the ground faster while strengthening the CAs, we have not benefited from reviewing any assessments or analysis that has determined the need for restructuring Ontario's current Conservation Authority framework. Currently, we meet provincial government set guidelines for issuing development permits 96% of the time, and we continue to coordinate with our municipal partners and developers while taking a solutions-focused approach to improving service delivery. For us, it would be more beneficial to have clear goals and guidelines that are evidence-based to drive further modernization and streamlining than restructuring the framework. The process to consolidate assets and liabilities would be complex and lengthy, and a cost-benefit analysis and legal review of such a merger should be completed before any consideration of this regional framework. For the Western Lake Ontario Regional CA, going from the current combined oversight of 53 board members to anything less will be challenging and does risk losing the diverse voices at the table. We're also concerned that the proposed framework will result in increased costs to municipal funding partners. While some costs would be one-time transition-related costs, others will be ongoing to maintain operations and infrastructure of the larger corporation. It's recommended that the province reassess the annual natural hazard management transfer payment, of which MPCA only gets $90,000 a year, to provide sustainable, predictable provincial funding across conservation authorities to enable us to advance ongoing digitization and modernization work that has already resulted in improved efficiency and consistency. And finally, with the additional administrative oversight of the boards representing larger and more diverse communities and potentially complex budgeting processes, there is a serious concern that our dedicated staff will be unable to deliver the same quality of programs and services that our communities expect. And should the province move forward with this framework, it'll be imperative that we maintain existing staff complements and ensure continuity of frontline services without disruption, including our commitments under agreements with our municipal partners and for funding with the province and federal government. In terms of next steps, the consultation on the Regional Conservation Authority boundaries is still open on the Ontario Registry of the Environment Registry of Ontario portal until December 22nd. When the new provincial conservation agency is established, it would lead the transition of regional conservation authorities, including that guidance to support throughout the consolidation process. We are anticipating further proposed amendments to the Conservation Authorities Act in the spring. And we have been told that any changes are not intended to be initiated until after municipal elections in 2026. And the current boards would continue to serve until the expiration of their terms next year. We were also advised by MECP staff that there would be a phased transition, but we have not been provided details at this time. We do want to assure our partners and communities that the MPCA continues to operate as usual. We're delivering programs and services without disruption, including our commitments under agreements with our municipalities and other partners. We'll continue to ensure the continuity of frontline services and maintain the high standards our communities rely on. And we'll continue to engage with provincial municipal staff and provide constructive input to ensure any framework continues to address the unique needs of our watersheds and achieves the effective balance between watershed protection and housing goals. With that, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lee Yates. Councilors, anyone have any questions of the CAO at this time?
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. Through you to our presenter, thank you very much for the detailed information here. Can you just clarify for me, on your slide 16, you note that the new RCA framework will result in increased costs for the municipal funding partners. Can you clarify a little bit what those costs would be revolved around?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. So we have identified, in general terms, transition costs. So we know with municipalities as examples through their amalgamation, say Hamilton or Toronto, that there were costs associated with harmonization of human resources, finances, infrastructure, processes that were above and beyond your typical operating and capital costs that they had to incur. So we do know that those would be coming. We've asked the province to give us this cost-benefit analysis so we can understand and be more certain what those costs are, because we haven't had the benefit of seeing any assessment coming from the province. So we are asking them to pause so that we can better understand what those costs are and what those impacts would be to our funding municipalities. And then we're anticipating there'd be the longer-term costs associated with running a regional conservation authority in office and any other additional operation or capital investments that would be needed for that to run effectively.
Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you very much. Through you, thank you for presentation information. Just curious, my understanding, the spirit of all of this is for efficiencies and, to get shovels in the ground faster. So yourself, you're saying that 96% of the time you achieve those targets. So I'm trying to think, does the government have, or could they say that that's not enough? Or could they, could they say, we want to bump up those timelines? You're taking too long. I don't know if it's 30 days, 90 days. I've never dealt with the NPCA. But if they were to say, listen, okay, you know what? Keep it the way it is, but we're going to expect you to operate quicker and more efficiently. Is that possible in your opinion?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I think you're right, and the spirit of this is to streamline and achieve faster approvals. Across all conservation authorities, we're averaging about 93% hitting those timelines. So within regulation itself, we have 90 days to make approvals, before which time an applicant could request the minister to review the permit application. And then we also have timelines that align with our municipal plan review requirements. As practice through conservation authorities, we aim for issuing permits within 30 days. Sometimes it could be quicker if it's fairly straightforward, but on average, it takes about 30 days from start to finish for a permit application. So I guess what we're hearing and what this is signaling is they do want that faster. And our comments reflect that we're not sure consolidation is the answer, but definitely we welcome the opportunity to speak with the province about those additional efficiencies, whether it be investing in software. So we currently use CityView for our planning and permitting software. We're about to launch an online portal for people to submit permit applications. We know the province is looking at some type of streamlined portal software that would be applicable to all conservation authorities. And I think that would be a good opportunity to look at streamlining and efficiency, as well as some clear guidance and policy direction across the conservation authorities, particularly on very technical matters where we would benefit from that. So I think those are all options we can work with the province on. It's just, we feel full consolidation of the 7 may not be the answer to that, and may actually complicate it a little bit in terms of getting going with 7 conservation authorities and rolling that out and meeting those objectives that the province sets for us.
I appreciate that answer. I'm of the similar mindset. I don't necessarily think getting larger means more efficiency. I think it's the exact opposite. Like, if you can run leaner and have a better understanding of your area and the environment, then, so long as applications and dealing with the NPC or the other 35 or 36 bodies isn't an obstacle that developers or anybody in the industry is feeling hindering. So, and I'm guessing you're already ahead of this, where you're saying to the province, what's the real spirit of this, besides just consolidation and giving the optics of efficiency. So thank you for answering that question.
Councillor Timmers.
Thank you very much, Mary Stin, through you to our presenter. Thanks very much for being here tonight. I guess my concerns were around the development applications, and maybe that's a question more for Director Bruder, but you somewhat touched on that already. My concern is how the local municipalities with local knowledge and concern and people who actually own conservation lands, how are they going to be heard, or how are they going to communicate any concerns or things that are happening with the conservation lands that they are aware of, or things that may be threatening some of the conservation lands? Like, how are our voices going to be heard at this point? Like, what will be the process?
Thank you for that question, through you, Madam Mayor. I think you've hit exactly, the main concern we've expressed through our comments is the larger the organization, there's functional disconnect as part of it. And through our comments to the province, we're advocating to maintain local offices. So if we can maintain a Niagara office as part of this, so that we're still able to connect quickly and accessible to our municipal partners and to landowners who have questions. Otherwise, there is a risk of, is there an office, say, in Oakville or Mississauga or Burlington or Hamilton that somebody would need to contact to ask those questions? That just doesn't seem feasible or appropriate to us. So we're advocating to keep at least the local offices and maintain that connection to the local residents. And definitely, I would encourage any landowner or somebody involved in a community group who have concerns with this, have your say and make sure your voice is heard within the time frame by December 22nd, because what we don't want to lose is our Niagara Conservation Authority, right? This Western Lake Ontario Regional Conservation Authority doesn't really roll off your tongue, and it's not representative of our watershed and who we are and of the uniqueness that we bring to our communities, and ensuring that we continue to have the programs so people can connect to nature and can experience the Niagara Peninsula and be able to meet with experts to help them with their properties, whether it be a permit application or a restoration opportunity or research if they have opportunities for our staff to go in and look at particular species they have on their property. It's all for the protection and health of our watershed, and the larger the organization is, there is that risk that our staff won't be able to connect with the local community.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mayor Arison. So I think that's my concern. Much broader area, less voices, less input. I feel like we're not really going to be heard. Maybe a small landowner with an issue in their conservation area. Like, how are we going to be, they're so arm's length. I don't really see the focus being on the smaller areas, but so it's concerning to me because not everybody, maintains and takes care of their conservation lands that they have on their properties. One other thing, you talked about programs. So, there's the Conservation Authority land tax discount. And it's to encourage landowners to, be stewards of the land and to maintain their conservation areas, in a natural state. Is that something that will continue? Or are you not aware at this point, or?
Through the mayor, yes, as far as I know, so that's administered through the Ministry of Natural Resources. As far as I know, that program, the Conservation Land Tax Incentive Program, and the Managed Forest Tax Incentive Program would continue. The role of the conservation authorities to a landowner who wishes to enroll in that is we have data and we have information. So they have to meet a series of criteria to be able to qualify. So are they provincially significant features on your property? Are they connected by water courses, et cetera? So, the work that we do is also that research and data collection and monitoring component that we have for our watershed and partners. And right now, we have an open data portal that people can access. We're out monitoring our conservation areas. We're expanding our water quality and terrestrial monitoring program. And that's all beneficial for everybody who lives in our watershed. So if somebody is interested in looking at whether their site qualifies for CLTIP or MIFTIP, and are looking at those suite of criteria, we can definitely assist with providing information to help them make that application.
Well, I certainly hope that program continues, because that is a way to have oversight, and that's a way to protect those significant wetlands and, specialty areas, natural features. If that goes away, I think it's going to be just you can do pretty much what you want with some of your land. Anyway, I would hope that doesn't happen, but thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Easton.
Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Through you to CAO Yates, thanks for the presentation. So Minister McCarthy, back in the late fall, when this first came to light, basically said that 36 authorities are operating largely on their own, and in his opinion, 7 new regional conservation authorities would be better aligned with the natural watersheds and reduce duplication. What are your comments to that statement?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Conservation authorities, for the last, 60 to 80 years that we've been formed by our local municipalities have worked very closely together. And we're coordinated through an organization called Conservation Ontario that helps us look at research opportunities, funding opportunities, but also policy and program consistencies and collaboration. And we make all efforts to be consistent. There are watershed nuances, for sure, taking a look at policies and how they're implemented with respect to geography and landscape and watersheds. However, we all aim for the same outcome when it comes to development, and we've got the guiding regulation in place. And even when there was more than the one regulation, they were all very consistent. So now the province has one regulation for all of us that we have to follow with specific timelines and exemptions that we follow. When we develop our policies, we reach out to each other to ensure that there's consistency and we're implementing best management practices. And we also consult with our municipalities and the development industry and other interested parties so that as we move forward in making these decisions, everybody understands, what is being proposed and required, and we're working towards that efficient end goal in terms of approvals. So, yes, we aren't exactly the same. Are we consistent? I would say yes. Have we worked together to ensure consistency in all efforts we have? I think what's being proposed is so that we all have one playbook. So it'd be like all municipalities with one official plan in that type of direction that's coming from the province, so that there is that known certainty for landowners and developers. But I would personally have to disagree that we've been operating completely in silos and separate and not working together, because it has been the exact opposite.
So through you, Mayor Easton, just a follow-up question. So I appreciate that very fulsome response. Somehow, I don't think that's the first time you've made that comment. So the consultation ends at 11:59 on December 22nd. I saw the minister being interviewed on CHCH. I've seen a number of conservation authorities, Saugeen Conservation Authority, Hamilton Conservation Authority, coming out quite vocal against this. So your board met in a special board meeting on December the 5th. So this is all happening fairly quick to meet that deadline. What are your thoughts on the fact that conservation authorities across Ontario are coming out fairly vocal against this? Where do you think this is going?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I think that we've been able to mobilize quite quickly is also a sign of we don't work in silos, right? And we've been talking very regularly, all 36 conservation authorities, and for us in particular, with the ones that would be in the proposed Western Lake Ontario Conservation Authority. We share similar concerns. You know, we're asking for that pause to reconsider whether the consolidation is the tool by which they'll achieve that streamlined and efficiencies. We've all put forward very detailed comments within that time. I'm hoping, you know, there is a break now until March, that they're able to review the comments and give some thought to it, and engage with us in more fulsome discussions between January and March before they sit again. So I'm hopeful on that. But I do have to say, what I've been seeing and sort of the signal is, I think they wish to continue with some form of consolidation, whether it be the 7, or they're going to consider what the comments are and give thought to whether the 7 is appropriate or there's a different configuration that would work better. But I think united, we're saying let's work at a local level to make that decision. So let's work with our boards, let's work with our communities so that everybody has a say on what, at the end of the day, those larger conservation authorities would look like.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, just to pick up right off Councillor Brunet. During those consultations and the comment back, have you suggested any other alternative compromises to the amalgamation or consolidation?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. We have put out in our comments having the opportunity of the boards to come together and make a decision of who makes sense to kind of come together, right? So that would be an ideal alternative, right? Let us build it up from the bottom. In terms of other examples out there, there is the source protection regions. And so conservation authorities, we deliver the source protection plans for Ontario. Niagara region, we have our own source protection area. And then other conservation authorities like Hamilton, Halton, our region and their areas within. There's the broader Credit Valley, Toronto, and Central Lake Ontario region that they're within. So there are about, I think there's 19 source protection regions in Ontario that have a history of working together with, you know, that working agreement in place, looking at the broader watersheds from a source drinking perspective. So we have floated that out there as part of our comments. We didn't put it directly in our resolution, but it is an alternative for them to consider.
So, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, so you haven't specified plans for a smaller consolidation of those 7 that have been thought of so far? Or you just more or less said, bring it back to the local board and let them decide?
Through you, Madam Mayor, in our comments, we put consideration of the source protection regions as boundaries in there. And we also put the recommendation if they should choose to move forward with these 7s or giving consideration for a different configuration, could we build them through our boards and have those discussions to decide which ones would make sense to come together and amalgamate. So we put sort of the 2 options on the table.
Okay, and last question, Madam Mayor. Do you think at the board level that would be easily done? And you'd find the agreement amongst the boards that would be required to facilitate that?
To you, Madam Mayor, I think it'll definitely be challenging. As I said, each conservation authority works as its own corporate entity. And although we have similarities in terms of our budget process, there are, for example, there are differences in the way we go about with our funding municipalities on building our operating and capital budgets. So just as an example, that within itself would take time, whether or not we build it from the bottom or we're dictated on what to happen, to have those discussions. I think if we were to get community buy-in and be successful and really aim towards the long-term future goal, which is, the future of conservation authorities, being able to pull in stronger resources for the work that we do, we need to have those conversations around the table with our communities to make sure that it's going to work and continue to work in the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And now, Councillor Pachariva.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thank you very much for the presentation. Wanted to get your thoughts. So if you're turning your development applications around at a 96% rate, why wouldn't they go after the chronic offenders that aren't reaching that? Like this, and maybe use the same approach as they've done with the school boards. So go after the chronic underperformers and leave the overachievers alone. That might be a compromise to this, right? Because to my, bigger's not always better.
Through you, Madam Mayor, across the CAs, those comments have come forward too,
Okay.
and some of the CAs who are smaller welcome, that investment to bring up their infrastructure for reviewing permits and issuing them. But I think you've hit sort of a shared concern. If we can prioritize where their efforts are instead of doing it across, right? Then maybe that would be a better focus of resources.
Yeah, and I mean, through you, Your Worship, hitting everyone with a broad brush isn't the best way to do it, in my estimation. I mean, some of the directions that they're looking for, sure, asset management plan, yeah, standardize those, right? So everyone's operating from the same template. But, when we had our business and it was grocery stores, and the company that bought the group wanted everyone to be the same. And there was a really good article that was written about our store in general. It was called The Beijing of it. You need some uniqueness, and especially in conservation authorities, because of the source protection, because of the unique landforms, because of the topography, all of those things that harken me back to Geography 20. It's uniqueness, and to just attack this with a knife like this, I think, is a slippery slope, and it's hiding something, in my estimation. The building things quicker. I mean, as a municipality, we've got hundreds, if not thousands, of things in the development pipeline already approved, but it's economics that's holding the hand. So, wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Through you, Mayor, yes, I think there's various factors that play into, why isn't housing being built as quickly as we all want to get built, right? And, streamlining and reducing red tape. And, I've always been of the opinion that if there's anything we can do to help that process, come talk to us so that we can see what that solution is. And yeah, maybe it's not one size fits all. It's, contacting and having those discussions to say, hey, as a municipality, we're trying this process out. Would you like to pilot with us to see, whether it'd work? And I've always been open to those types of suggestions. So I think there's value in, your comment definitely that, one brush may not be the right approach. And perhaps it's looking at, individually where those pressures have been and how do we work together.
Okay. And last question, if I may, Your Worship. And this one jumps out at me. The minister may fund the agency, right? And this is the talk that we've received, is that the ministry may make us whole. We've never still seen the plan about that. So I would really drill down on that, because what's the plan? And you said funding for 2 years. What happens after that? I mean, it's like a house of cards, right? Without any firm financials behind it. They're setting you up for failure, in my opinion. So thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Njima, would you like to open your mic and ask your question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for presentation. Just gonna lower my hand. Okay, so when you said, you mentioned source protection, the source protection boundaries earlier on, that made my ears perk up. Thank you for the conversation. There's a lot for you to consider. There's a lot for all of the 36 conservation authorities to consider. When I hear source protection, I get particularly concerned because we as municipal councillors are personally liable for the quality of our water, and that includes ensuring that the source of water is protected. So I don't know if this is a question for you, but it may be through to our CAO, but how concerned should we be, and how do we ensure that we continue to be involved and have a voice in this process over the long term? Because people's lives are busy, and there's people handling different things at different levels of government and different boards and different agencies. But when it comes to source water protection, this is something we have to take very seriously.
Thank you for the question. Our Source Protection Committee did meet last week to give consideration of staff's comments. And we did raise some concerns from a legislative and regulatory perspective that if these new boundaries of conservation authorities change, then it may cause legislative amendments, requirements to source protection authority boundaries and updates to plans. So we don't know all the details, but it was cautionary comments that it's not just the conservation authority boundaries, it does affect the source protection regions, and that also may affect the plans that we have in place in making sure that they are reflective of a new conservation authority boundary, because the way the Clean Water Act reads today is the conservation authority is the source protection authority. So it's the complexities that we've been finding and unwinding as we go through the details, that it may not be a quick and easy process. So I can assure this council that our Source Protection Committee continues to sit. For the next year, MPCA continues to be the source protection authority for our region, and we are watching it closely from a source protection perspective. MECP not only is the administrator for the conservation authorities, but for the source protection plans as well. So we do meet regularly with MECP staff in our other branch of the conservation authority. So we are watching it closely and coordinating as well.
Okay, thank you. This is something we have to keep our eyes on clearly every step of the way, and we will be. Appreciate your presentation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mr. CAO, some comments, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to members of council, and I'll also ask Director Bruder possibly to chime in as well. I know we met with Leilani earlier to discuss this, and I think we both expressed, Matt and I, some concerns about what's being proposed, looked at the other motions as well, in terms of wanting more time to study this, and I think looking at a December 22nd timeline, which is very quick. We also read through the region's motion that opposed this as well, and I think both Matt and I thought there were some good things in that particular motion that council may want to consider supporting as well. So it is a concern from our perspective as well, and at least something that we're cognizant of and wanting to make sure that both this council and various stakeholders are aware of. So I think in the best interest of both the Conservation Authority and municipalities general, the source protection of water remains a key, I think, concern that we have with this legislation.
Thank you very much.
Matt wants to
Mr.
maybe
CAO.
chime in, Madam Mayor?
Mr. Bruder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not a whole lot to add to the CAO's comments, just exactly that. You know, that's a responsibility not only we, municipality, take seriously, but we also collaborate with our colleagues at the NPCA about as regularly as we possibly can. And it's one of those things, you know, when you see a change coming, something like this, and coming quickly, when you're considering something as critical as source protection, you want to make sure that there's sufficient time to be able to assess, okay, you know, this new framework, what does it look like? Are we still able to afford the same protections as we were, the same level of coordination, the same level of diligence? So I think, you know, when you look at something being proposed like this from the province, you think of it in terms of, well, you know, maybe there's some semblance of something, not necessarily the way it's proposed, but something could be made to work, but you want that time to properly vet it and make sure that we can still undertake those considerations and maintain the maximum level of source protection. Those are my additional comments, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruder. Do you have any comment in response? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet, seconded by Councillor Njima. The council receive and file as information the following delegation regarding updates from the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, Leilani Lee Yates, CAO Secretary Treasurer. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and the vote is now open. Councillor Rajima, can I get your vote, please?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. I will close that vote. Madam Mayor, that carries.
Thank you very much. The vote is carried. We'll move on now to the next item on the agenda, which is the Regional Councillor update. Councillor Foster, would you please come forward? I believe councillors all have a copy of the report. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, good. Documentation, always read it. Quick comment on the NPCA before I get into the rest of my items this evening. Leilani did a great job laying out what we decided at the board level. As a 7-year board member, 2 years as chair of the board, 3 years as governance chair at the NPCA. I got to tell you, we have a pretty good running organization. And so we come from a level of strength as we make some of the suggestions back in and through. If you remember, there was an Auditor General's report that came back that was used at the NPCA. We have implemented all of the recommendations in and through that. And in fact, the NPCA is the leader in policy in and through the province. So we've done a heck of a job with that. Just the last thing, and when you take a look at the presentation afterwards, the slide that showed the difference in how things from a financial point of view, that one should be the one that really surprises you. Credit Valley and Halton are big, expensive organizations. Big, expensive organizations. That will fall out on us if we're not too careful. So anyway, that's why that's important, and I do hope you guys are supporting what it is that the region actually has said with this, also Hamilton and Haldimand. Very much like Mayor Easton last month, I'm the acting regional chair this month, so this means I've been able to attend a wide variety of differing things this month on behalf of the region. And it's quite fascinating, actually, sitting in that role within it. I'm sure Mayor Easton found the same thing. Some of the nuances, some of the things that are coming along, some of the actual items that sort of go across the regional chair's desk. It's really been kind of neat, actually, to be quite honest. Today, I was at Niagara Falls. So this came out today. It's called Destination Niagara. It is the plan that the province is now embarking on. in and around tourism. The subtitle is Unlocking the Potential of Ontario's Playground. So reality is that it's quite a fascinating plan that the province is bringing along. I would suggest to you, if you get an opportunity, read the plan, understand how it affects us here in Lincoln. There's strong agritourism aspects within it. Thanks to Mayor Easton and this council, that has been pushed very strongly within that. The winery industry is promoted quite dramatically within this document as well. There's a notion that we need a theme park in Niagara Falls that they were talking about today. I'm not exactly sure what they're thinking of. Maybe a Disney park, that'd be kind of cool. But anyway, the reality is that there's an awful lot of research is going to go into play with all these types of things in the next little while. So anyway, something for you to have a look at for sure. I was there as the acting regional chair. Most of the southern tier mayors were there this morning as well. They all had quite an active interest in that. I put onto my notes recycling. Pretty much likely you're going to be starting to get phone calls. You're going to be getting questions. You're going to be having people concerned in and around recycling. To be perfectly honest, nothing is new to any of you on this council as is going on. This has been discussed for the past 6, 8, 10 months, what's happening within this. As you know, the region reached out to the province back May timeframe this year, basically to get a clarification of the what are they called, Mary Easton? Anyway, it's the items that they're not going to be picking up or from whom. So the responsibility for the region remains within a few different areas. Garbage collection, the green bins, the leaf collection, and also the services in and around large objects that need to be hauled away. Those are remaining within the purview of the region. All the rest has been transferred to the producer group at the provincial level. As we talked about before, we did have a good discussion in and around whether or not we as the region were going to go and provide those services to businesses in the downtown areas. It became very complex very quickly, including not being able to put cardboard from a home versus cardboard from a business on the same truck, okay? The costs were prohibitive, and the region has basically said, no, the responsibility is at the producer level, at the provincial level. So anyway, long story short, there's where we're at. There's actually a slight decrease in waste management fees this year that people are going to be seeing. We're down about 1.2% here in the town of Lincoln. When it's all said and done. And speaking of budget, we had a pretty fascinating budget meeting last Thursday night. So where we're at, the budget is approximately 7%. It's just shy of 7% at this point in time. At our last budget meeting, the police budget was pushed back to the police services with a request of up to $2.7 million being reduced from the police budget. I think it's fair to say, and I think Mary Easton will agree with me, we're not sure what's going to happen with that when it gets back to the police board. So. Anyway, what it's done is it has stopped our budget process from being completed into 2026. So it will be sometime in January when the final budget process is done. So water, wastewater, and all that has been completed as well, in and through. And I'm sure staff here at the town have already been informed of where those figures are at. They're not unreasonable within those areas. So my regret in budget this year, I had an opportunity to visit some very interesting facilities that we have here within Niagara. I loved the Mayor Easton and I were at the one in Niagara Falls, the wastewater treatment plant, and I loved the big collar that was on the one intake pipe that was going on there. It reminded me of something I would have kludged together on the farm way back when, putting the big rubber band around it and putting a couple of those clamps on to make sure it's there. So there needs to be some work done. I'm not sure. We as a council, and I did vote against it. I'm not sure we as a council have really made the step to start addressing some of the significant infrastructure problems that we have. So we keep on battling, and we'll see what happens next year. The name of the game this year was affordability when it was all said and done. And so there's where we've landed at with that. So and that's my report for this evening.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And are there any questions of Councillor Foster? Go ahead, Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Regional Councillor Foster. So, Rob, you mentioned that the police budget has been pushed back to Police Services Board, and you were asking for $2.7 million to be removed.
The actual motion was, there was a lot of messing around with that motion on Thursday. Approximately 2.7 is what the actual motion said. So.
Okay, so just to put it in perspective, so let's say the 2.7 is in before you pushed it back. So you had a number, and then you pushed it back. So just in relationship to the police budget that was approved in 2024 to where we are now, before you pushed the 2.7 back, is that number, how does that number compare to last year's police budget?
Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, so the police budget year over year, approximately 11%, about 11.5%. When it's all said and done. They actually came in originally, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor Easton, but I believe it was in about the 14% range, somewhere in that. The police board itself did some removal of things. For instance, they had wanted to go and do the cameras, body cameras on the thing. They removed that from the budget. A number of other changes that they wanted to put in place. My question at when the chief was in front of us, he basically said to us, a sustaining budget would come in at 8.2%. And the rest that's on top of that, making up to the 11%, is new programs and new requirements within the police services. So I believe that's what council was trying to say is take a good look at those things again. We're not sure that at this point in time that new is possible. So we'll see what they come back with. The current budget number, as I said, is just shy, like it's 6.99 or something like that, just shy of 7%. And it could get down as low as 6.5. What always bothers me about this type of thing is that we're arguing about really in the end a very small amount of money when it's all said and done for the average homeowner, I remember correctly, it's something like $25 or something like that we're battling over at this point. So, but we go from there.
Just a follow-up question, Madam Mayor, if I could.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So Councillor Foster, obviously recognizing that you're one voice around the horseshoe up at Regional HQ, you made a comment, I don't want to take it out of context, but I wrote it down when you were coming to the end of your presentation. You said that you've seen through some of your tours and you've witnessed the need for significant infrastructure investments, improvements. So if the number were to come and land at 7%, again, you're one voice around the table, but are you pleased with where you might land at 7%? Or do you feel that you should be doing better? Or do you think you should be investing more as our regional councillor?
As our regional councillor, I'm ecstatic about the level that we're coming in. We're very, very fortunate here in the West Niagara area. We have awfully good infrastructure. We've been doing a lot of work to make sure that things are good and well placed. We make use of the Baker Road facility, which is a fairly modern facility. We have good water coming into the area. We have good connections in through to Kew on the other end of town. So I would say to you, if I was taking the blinkered view of just the town of Lincoln, I'm happy with it. When I take a look at it from the unblinkered view of the region, I'm not happy about it. There's significant development that's being hung up by this infrastructure that we have in play at this point in time. So the province has been pushing us to build. We're expecting, what is it, the numbers, I think, is 750,000 people by 2051. I think the actual number is something like that. So there's a lot of people expected to come this way. So we need the infrastructure to do it. Now, I'm also, and this is, I'll give an opinion on this one. I'm not a believer that the federal and provincial governments need to subsidize 100% of everything that's going on. We need to be making sure that we're doing our fair share. I love the a third programs that are coming into play. We have been reaching out to the federal government to work on infrastructure needs with them. Here's hoping that that's going in the right direction. They do appear to be ready to do some significant infrastructure investments. We've talked to the province on a few different occasions on things, and part of what the province is looking for is that federal commitment as well. So anyway, long story short, we have to commit sooner or later and get some of this stuff done. So.
Councillor?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, just an additional comment or question to the Councillor Foster. So Councillor Foster, I really appreciate that response. I really do, because I think it shows that, you have a responsibility as one of our two regional councillors, that not only do you look at your responsibility through the lens of Lincoln or West Niagara, but you look at across the municipality, all 12 municipalities. And I appreciate that. But by the same token, I guess my question to you would be, as you're still in this budget process, and you had mentioned again that that we are this budget has been a tough budget, and there's many things to consider. I think you made mention in your report here that there's changes coming down probably from the province. There's going to be an announcement here soon about our regional chair. and there's been talk about, duplication and, stuff in the province, changes with the planning and, maybe some changes in other departments coming. So during the budget process, how vocal have you been, again, as our regional councillor, looking at how savings can be ascertained throughout the organization? Because I think this is an important aspect of the budget.
That's an interesting question. We've gone through a pretty significant review of where our resources are at. We made a decision back 2 years ago, I think it was, that no net new hirings were going to come into the region unless it gets approved by council. Okay? In the meantime, there's been changes that have come through from the provincial government on long-term care and how those organizations are being looked after. So it's required additional people to go into place. That came to council. We voted on it accordingly. There's been some restructuring has gone on at the region because the planning, a lot of the aspects of planning have come to you guys at the town. But based on what we went through our discussions on, that only affected about 20% of what planning really does at Niagara Region. So an awful lot of the things that are going on there, the planning around infrastructure, the planning around, pieces of the puzzle to go and make sure that we have the correct infrastructure, all of these things thought through. That has been shifted within the public works area. I'll let Sandra correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm a strong believer in every night is budget night when we're dealing with things at the region. So I would suggest to you that I think we've done a good job of trying to get some of this figured out, but there's always more to do, okay? No organization is perfect. I hate to break it to you, but your organization isn't perfect either. So, it's important to know and understand there's always improvements that can be made as we go down the road with these things. So, whether you're at the upper tier, lower tier, maybe it'd be nice if the province took a look at the number of staff that they have as well. So, anyway, I hope that kind of answers your question.
Thanks very much, Rob, and I appreciate you're always here throughout the year, and wishing you best of the season.
Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you very much, through you to Councillor Foster. So just to pick up on Councillor Brunet a little bit, like you did second that motion requesting a 3.5 guidance with Bob Gale, Councillor Gale, and those numbers were as a result of 9.6, 7.02, and 7.6% increases, and now I'm hearing that you're ecstatic. So I'm just curious, like, maybe I didn't get a clear answer through Councillor Brunet's question, but what got you to change your opinion that 3.7 or shy of 7 is affordable or comparative to 3.5, which is what you originally were, directing staff to come in at?
So, I will give you the reality of what's gone on through this entire budget process. The departments that Sandra and I and the groups within that came in at budget levels below the 3.5%. The ABCs outside of one came in at a level 3.5% or lower. Here's the reality is that when you have the single biggest cost structure within the region being policing, and when they come in with a substantially higher number, it has a major effect on the overall budget. There's no choice but to have that effect that comes into play. I have been deeply frustrated with that this year because really in the end, let's say we get into our budget discussions in January and we don't agree with what the police come back with, and we say, no, you're going to cut it even more. There's a process to go through at that point in time that they're allowed to do. And it would become very costly. It would become lawyer intensive as it's going on. And I'm not exactly sure that from a financial point of view, we would be gaining anything when it's all said and done. So I'm a strong believer that I can only have effect on those things that I can have effect on. And I know Mayor Easton and I both, within this budget season, we've looked at it and I said, I would suggest to you that we're probably at a level about as good as we were going to get out of this, okay? But the departments within Niagara Region have come in well below what it is that we had requested from them. And for that, I was very pleased with staff at Niagara Region itself.
Thank you. I'm going to be curious to see how Bob Gale, or Councillor Gale, chimes in at budget time when this is all said and done. But again, I have to tune in like a resident would. Through you, another question with regards to, like infrastructure investments, like you mentioned, infrastructure to facilitate development, right? That sort of thing. But I'm concerned like about infrastructure with existing residents, like, and I'm going to refer to Vineland. I mean, like up north in Collingwood, there was a water main broke that was an old water main, I suppose, and like long-time residents, they had to boil their water, right, and this sort of thing. So now, like, we're talking about always accommodating growth, but are we taking care of existing residents and their infrastructure through all of this? All of these considerations?
I'm not sure that's something I should be talking about at this point in time. Listen, I watched as the region went and redid the pipes through downtown Vineland for the new water storage plant going in. That's the stuff that comes from DQ. That's the stuff that makes use of within the community. That is the responsibility of the region to make sure that that water gets there and is able to be distributed through the town water lines in the thing. Beyond that, I have no understanding. You probably have a far better understanding of where the pipes and stuff are in Vineland with what the town is actually distributing than I do now. I've been out of that for 7 years, so.
Okay. And then third question with regards to waste management. I feel like all the trash is, all the recycling is just going to go in the garbage. It's just going to go in the garbage, and that is going to increase fees and waste capacities, and ultimately it's these costs are going to be borne on the taxpayer. Or was recycling just never really taken seriously? I'm trying to understand the significance of recycling, in all sincerity, when we're doing something like this, knowing that, I'm not sure a business owner is going to go out of their way. What are they going to do with their recycling? They're going to just throw it in the garbage.
Well, Councillor, the decision was made by the province. Was it made by
I'm
the
aware of
region?
that. But is there no way that the region can look at this and come up with a plan B of some sorts to accommodate? We're claiming, we're saying to ourselves that we have a climate emergency. And yet, as a municipality, we've declared an emergency. As a region, I believe they declared an emergency. I don't think the province has. So what's the sense of action to this emergency?
You've encapsulated about 5 or 6 things there. And so the only thing I can tell you is that the decision being made at the region to go the route that they have was based on what the province has told us. Secondly, I have the same concerns as you, to be perfectly frank, but we'll have to see how it shakes out. You know, when it's all said and done, there are options. One of the things I found it interesting. The town of Grimsby put in place, it was called enhanced recycling that they done. So they actually send trucks down a second day of the week down their main street, and apparently they're keeping that in place. But that ain't free. They're paying for that within it. That has nothing to do with the region. That was a decision made by the town of Grimsby. City of St. Catharines did the exact same thing for the downtown area. Niagara-on-the-Lake in the downtown area has done the exact same thing. So, anyway.
Okay.
Anyway.
I guess it's just questions to bring up at your level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to Councillor Foster. Again, you had mentioned in your report that our current infrastructure is not likely going to be adequate to hit the provincial growth target that the region's been assigned by the province of about 750,000. Looking at the number of builds that we've had over the last little while, like we average about, I think it's about 2,000 dwellings per year from 2006 to 2021. So in order to hit that 750,000 population growth, we'd have to build 100,000 dwellings over the next 25 years, which doesn't seem remotely possible in my perspective. Do you think that the infrastructure we have is adequate for the likely growth trend that is going to be coming, as opposed to the growth trend that the province is hoping that we hit at the 750?
I'm not an engineer, Councillor Russell, so anything that I would say would be pure speculation on my part, and I can only go by the asset management plan that we have at the region and what I've been able to see during my trips to these various places. You know, we're, again, and we've always talked about this, we're very fortunate here in Lincoln. We are how can I put this? We're a have municipality, you know, like people want to come here. You know, we've been building lots of homes in and through the community. We've got some incredibly good subdivisions that are going to be coming online. Prudhome's comes to mind as these things start being worked through. You know, you guys have a few battles from a planning point of view that are going on here in town. That's great. Like in an expanding community, it's good because we all have to sort of put our glasses on and take a look at it and say, okay, what do we really want type of thing. So I think that's terrific. And the infrastructure, you know, thanks to, you know, a little $16 million project going up Ontario Street that was inconvenient but has been finally finished. We got that out of the way. The reconstruction over at Baker Road has been incredibly good for us here in town. There are no concerns from that point of view. We're a have municipality, and things are in really actually good shape for us here on the west end of Niagara. Not so much in other areas. So, you know, even the building of the brand new $3.5 billion hospital, I mean, the new wastewater treatment plant has to come into play at some point in time to even help with that. So, anyway, as I said, we are fortunate here, to say the least. So,
Yeah, and I appreciate it. And just one follow-up, Madam Mayor, through you. Again, you mentioned the asset management plan, and again, I think that it's a good point to bring up. Is that asset management plan dictated based on projections of 750,000 that that the province is imagining are going to be here, or is it actually based on growth trends?
The asset management plan, and I don't know, honestly, I don't know how you guys do it here. The asset management plan is to make sure that we have quality assets in place. So it's the judging of the asset, it's making sure that we have the appropriate work that's going to be done to make sure that it's able to do the job that it's supposed to do and/or replace as it's going on into the future. Growth for growth, going back to the old discussion that growth should pay for growth when it's all said and done. So my expectation is that there's going to be other things come into play with this as well. So, you know, again, a South Niagara wastewater treatment plant, there'll be a lot of DCs that are going to be used in order to put that in place, as well as hopefully appropriate funding from provincial and federal coffers. So.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Majima, you are on video now, so I think everything is working. Please go ahead with your question.
Okay, yeah, everything's working again. Thank you. I want to say thank you, Councillor Foster, for coming out. You hear that now and then, but I think it's important that you hear it over and over again because you do come here regularly and stand and wait and then answer all our questions, and it's very much appreciated, so thank you. And I wanted to ask general question. You know, you often see discussion online in the community about property taxes, and you know, it's reiterated back to people about, you know, how much goes to education, how much goes to the region, how much is the responsibility of the municipalities. I'm wondering over time if you're seeing an increase or just sort of a leveling off or a decrease in public participation at the regional level when it comes to budget discussions.
We have a public process, not unlike what the town does. We do surveys of the key areas that are required in and around the budget process, what people are looking for. You know, again, maybe it's a little different than the town. You guys have, I'll call it, some of the really nice things for people to look at, parks and things like that that you got to maintain and make sure they're good into the future. Most of the stuff at the region, you know, is things like ambulance services and EMS and you know, policing services and all these other things that come into play. So, and they're not exactly, you know, front and center, I guess, when it's all said and done. There's pretty strong coming into play with it. Listen, you know, every one of us is there either as a mayor or as an elected regional councillor, and it's fascinating listening to the differing views that are coming from the differing parts of the region. So I don't know. Probably the process is as good as it can be, given the nature of it. I mean, you know, you guys, again, it is quite similar to what it is that you're doing, so.
Just curious if over time you've seen a change, or, you know, I didn't expect you to say it's gone up 70% or anything like that. Just curious. Thank you for your response.
I think just as Mayor Easton, no, I can't provide stats like that. I think I tend to ignore social media when it comes to a lot of this, and I think most of you probably ignore it as well, because if you did, you would go to bed at night and be crying as you're trying to go to sleep. So anyway, there's a lot of factors that come into play, and I just really wish at times more people would reach out instead of just randomly putting things onto social media that actually have no bearing on reality. So, and I'm sure I'll be quoted on social media tomorrow on that. So.
Thank you very much, Rob. I've got a couple of comments that I would just like to add. One of the principles that the regional budget operated from this year in terms of asset management was maintaining or even reaching a state of good repair. And I don't think, well, I think it's fair to say because of the way the budget decision was made on the issue of infrastructure that we likely will not meet that goal because the money that we wanted invested is not going to be invested. So things will be done on a as-needed basis. I don't think that's a good way of dealing with infrastructure. However, it is why we are in the situation that we're in right now where we are so far behind. And we're going to continue to be far behind. The only hope that I have is that there's a financial management plan in place now that I believe has a very strong intention of righting that ship with a leaner budget for revenue, but albeit a budget for revenue that we can begin to work with. So we'll see what happens with that. Some of the information that has not come out tonight, and it's because a lot of people don't pay attention to these, and this is where the money is. Housing in this last 8 to 10 months is now compounded by the number of options that need to be made available. And there was a motion, it was Mayor Cisco's motion, I seconded it. We certainly need to get moving on options for housing that don't exist right now. Otherwise, we will continue to have people living on the street. And you need police services to assist with that. Mental health is a major issue. There's another program coming forward called the HEART program. It's akin to inpatient mental health on a short-term basis. These are all add-ons. This is not existing, this is an add-on. And in response to your curiosity about what happens with finding things to take out of the budget, we have about half a dozen people around that table that are pretty good with the yellow highlighters. And collectively, we came up with some pretty substantial lists. However, this budget can only be driven to a certain extent by council, and I think we drove it as hard as we could. There's some questions that still aren't answered, and we may still end up with the police budget going to the province, and if we do, we know it's going to be compared through, compared against the provincial standards that were implemented in 24 and 25 without any additional funding. So there's nothing about this that is simple, but I think these are all good questions, and we should continue to ask the questions about why the province continues to download to us without putting those necessary operating dollars in place. So we'll continue to work with this, and we'll see where we're at.
If I might add, Mayor Easton, and through you again, you know, we haven't even got into the area of incentives. I mean, 6% of the budget is incentives, guys. That's a pretty substantial amount of money. I mean, 34 million or something like that is going into it this year. And that's the base. I mean, that's the committed to that we have at this point in time. We don't know what else is coming into play over the next number of months. So, you know, I go back to Councillor Russell and Councillor Michalek bringing up even around this council, you know, this whole notion of what's going on with these things. I mean, like, you guys are actually pretty good at being reasonable on stuff like that. I'll tell you, there are big bundles of money going into other municipalities within the region, and we're all paying for it within this. one of the downsides of that. Debt financing, that's coming into play. I actually argued, and I think Mayor Easton was going to turn around and start strangling me when it was going on, but I had argued that we need to have more debt this year going into play. And the simple reason is that, I'm a strong believer that some of these infrastructure pieces should have been worked on this year. The wisdom of council is no, we're not going to do it this year, so. Anyway, guys, I hate budget season. I really truly do. And, it's really sad because it's also the best of seasons. We are making decisions on what we're going to do as a council. You guys have made your decisions on what you guys are going to do as a council as well. But it's always the battle. So with that, thank you very much, Mayor Easton.
I just wanted to report on the people who turned up at council to report on the budget, because I was commenting to somebody about this because I really gave these people a lot of credit, and what they had to say was extremely important. There were 4 people. They were highly informed. They were very reasonable. They weren't making ridiculous statements about things they knew nothing about. And they were asking for us to be reasonable as well. They were all over the age of 70, and they sat there until 10 o'clock at night to be heard. So I thank those people very much, and I encourage our own community to step forward on the same basis because it is very impactful.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can tell you, my door is always open for things. Mayor Easton's door is always open with this stuff. More than happy to go through and dig through it. So, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Thank you, councillors, for your questions. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachuriva, seconded by Councillor Timmers, that council receive and file for information the following delegation. Regional Council, Councillor Foster. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thank you, and the vote is now open. Councillor Regina?
I'm in favor, Julie, thank you.
I'll close that vote, and that carries, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The vote is carried, and we move on to item 11, which is items for consideration, and we have none this evening. Item 12 is a motion to approve previous council minutes. We're now considering item 12.1, council minutes of November the 17th, 2025, and 12.2, special council minutes of December the 3rd, 2025. Do councilors have any questions? I see none. I have a motion moved by Councillor Njima, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that council approve the minutes of the following meetings of council minutes of November 17th, 2025, special council minutes of December 3rd, 2025. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and the vote is now open. Councillor Regima, I'll verbally ask for your vote.
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And I'll close that vote, and that carries, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The vote is carried. We move on to recommendations from standing committees, and we're now considering the following. Committee of the Whole minutes of December the 1st, 2025. Do members of council have any questions? I see none. I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer, seconded by Councillor Murray, that council approve the following recommendations from standing committees. Committee of the Whole minutes of December the 1st, 2025. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
The vote is now open. Councillor Regima?
I'm in favor, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll close that vote, and that carries, thanks.
Thank you. The motion is carried. We move on to item 14, notice of motion. We're now considering item 14.1, a notice of motion that I am bringing forward, which will be seconded by Councillor Murray, that will be introduced this evening, and we will seek an affirmative two-thirds vote for immediate consideration. I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Mikulik. Whereas Procedure Bylaw 2022-04 provides that notices of motion shall not be discussed or debated upon introduction, but shall be included on the next regular council meeting agenda for consideration. And whereas Section 7.8.5 of the Town of Lincoln Procedure Bylaw 2022-04 permits a notice of motion to be considered upon its introduction by an affirmative vote of two-thirds of the members present. And whereas it is deemed impractical or not in the best interest of the Town of Lincoln to delay consideration. Therefore, be it resolved that the pertinent rules contained in Section 7.8 of Procedural Bylaw 2022-04 be waived to permit the introduction and consideration by council of the notice of motion on the council agenda pertaining to endorsement for the development of a code of conduct for human trafficking prevention in Niagara Region. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thank you. The vote's open. Councillor Regima, may I have your vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Then I'll close that vote. That carries, Madam Mayor.
All right. A few months ago, I was invited to attend a meeting with the Chief Administration Officer, Mr. Krikopoulos, who had been sitting with other members of the community, also members of the hoteliers, other environments such as the external parts of our schools and other areas where young people have been known to be groomed for human trafficking. I'd like Mr. CAO to speak briefly about that experience, which brought us to this motion that we're bringing forward tonight. Mr. CAO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate the opportunity to highlight this particular initiative, and I think council should have in their package a little bit of a cover briefing note that I did put together for council to read, so I won't go through it, but the mayor is correct. Together with Niagara Regional Police, a number of the mayors and CAOs from across Niagara Region, as well as regional staff, and representatives from Brock University, as well as TOES Niagara, which is a human trafficking working group that's been established. We did come together, we had conversations around pertinent training and continuing to build awareness around this particular topic. There are a number of agencies working within this field. I do recall, I want to say a few years ago, attending with members of council. I know Councillor Brunet was there, Pakshariva, I think Councillor Timmers as well. An event here in our community with the Trucking Association in particular, where this topic did come up. I was fortunate enough to be the CAO lead amongst my colleagues on this initiative most recently, and really it seeks to, I think, establish or reestablish a lot of the training that's currently happening right now. A lot of our municipal law enforcement officers, firefighters, when you look at us at a local level, are already doing some of this training. They're already cognizant and aware of things they should take notice of when they see things, when they enter vulnerable occupancy type establishments, when they are looking at and in new buildings that they're looking to approve. I think of the work that our building staff are also doing in terms of Andrew and his team. So this really just seeks to continue to raise awareness and really focuses on the 4 Ps: prevention, protection, partnership, and then prosecution in terms of working with NRPS and other agencies. So open to answer any questions, but again, this seeks to just formalize and endorse things that are already happening in terms of existing training.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote for the approval to consider this motion this evening? We're there. All right. So we are considering item 14.1. I have that motion moved by Councillor Timmers, seconded by Councillor Mikulik. Whereas procedure bylaw 2022-04 provides that, I'm sorry, that's not where I want to be. Sorry. All right, I'm now at, I'm on page 11. And I'm reading the motion. Whereas human trafficking in Niagara is currently a persistent challenge impacting the hospitality and tourism sectors, whereas human trafficking is a critical issue due to the region's proximity to the U.S. border and the thriving tourism and hospitality sectors, which create environments where sexual and labor exploitation can go unnoticed. And whereas women, newcomers, racially marginalized people, people experiencing poverty, people living with disabilities, children in the child welfare system are disproportionately targeted and impacted by the harms perpetuated by traffickers. And whereas 60% of human trafficking cases in Ontario occur along the corridor linking Toronto and Niagara. And whereas data from the Niagara Regional Police Service comparing 2023 to 2024 indicates the number of human trafficking investigations increased by 61%, the number of victims identified increased by 700%, the number of accused charged increased by 190%, the number of criminal charges laid increased by 75%. And the number of referrals from NRPS's Human Trafficking Unit to Victim Services Niagara increased by 133%. And whereas human trafficking thrives in secrecy, but with leadership and commitment, local government can be on the front line of prevention and protection. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario's Healthy Democracy Project has identified concerning trends with fewer people voting in local elections and running for municipal office. Whereas local businesses and organizations are key to preventing human trafficking through proactive measures such as the 4 Ps of prevention, protection, partnership, and prosecution. And whereas local area municipalities have already begun to assist in making the Niagara region inhospitable to human traffickers, and whereas tools of empowerment for success, TOES, Niagara, and Brock University have undertaken work funded by Women and Gender Equality Canada to develop a code of conduct to prevent human trafficking in the Niagara region through education, increasing awareness, providing resources, including prevention strategies. And whereas TOES, Niagara, and Brock University created a steering committee of representatives from across tourism, business, education, law enforcement, government, and nonprofit sectors to engage in broad community collaboration through focus groups, surveys, and feedback sessions to develop the Code of Conduct for Human Trafficking Prevention in the Niagara region. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Lincoln recognize that human trafficking in Niagara has serious impacts on the health and wellness of local residents and their families, as well as negative economic impacts on local businesses and communities. And 2, endorse the work of TOES, Niagara, and Brock University in developing a code of conduct for the prevention of human trafficking in the Niagara region. And 3, commit to reviewing and assessing the applicable local government sectoral guidelines and the responsibilities outlined in the code upon its finalization, with the intent to implement measures that align with regional priorities and capacity. And 4, write letters to all Niagara's local area municipalities, encouraging them to also endorse the work of TOES Niagara and Brock University in the development of the Code of Conduct for the Prevention of Human Trafficking in the Niagara region, and commit to reviewing and assessing the applicable local government sectoral guidelines and responsibilities outlined in the code upon its finalization, with the intent to implement measures that align with municipal priorities and capacity. And 5, requests that a copy of this resolution be circulated to Niagara's 4 MPs, Niagara's 4 MPPs, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Mayors and Regional Chairs of Ontario, MARCO, Ontario's Big City Mayors, OBCM, and the Ontario and Canadian Associations of Chiefs of Police. I will now ask our clerk to open the vote. Madam Clerk?
Madam Mayor, there is a question in the queue.
Thank you. Councillor Reimer.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Just a question of clarification or specificity, I guess, on page 14 of the motion, through you, to you, I guess, and to Councillor Murray as the seconder. Number 4, now therefore be it resolved that number 4, we write letters to Niagara's local area municipalities. Do we need to specify the region, or are we assuming that's included in there? I know we've talked about the region in the motion itself. So that's one, and also, do we need to include Niagara Regional Police specifically? We have Ontario and Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, but seeing how it's a regional issue, whether we should specify that they get a copy of this as well.
Madam Clerk, these can be given as staff direction, so NRPS can be added to number 5,
Sure.
your suggestion. And at what point in item number 4 would you add the region?
Yeah, just in the, I just wanted to make sure or confirm that in the first line there, Mary East Niagara's local area municipalities, sometimes we refer to the lower level and just forget including Niagara region. That would be great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mayor Easton.
Go ahead, Councillor Renee.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think this is great. I support this motion. When CEO Kirkopoulos made a comment about us attending the Human Trafficking Awareness Day that took place on August 15th, 2023, I looked it up. I looked up the material that came back away from that. I attended that on your behalf, Madam Mayor, back August 15th, 2023. That event was led predominantly at the time by the RCMP. They were front and center. I don't see the RCMP listed anywhere in here, and I'm wondering whether they should be included in number 5 as well.
That's a good question. The RCMP did not attend at the event that I was at, so thank you very much for bringing that up. For continuity, Mr. CAO, is Councillor Brunet's suggestion beneficial?
Through you, Madam Mayor, absolutely. I think that'd be a good addition.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor, and we'll add that as direction under item number 5.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Clerk, you have that? Thank you very much. There's no other questions. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Yeah, I'll just ask that Alexa just scroll down to number 4.
To see those changes?
That's right.
Okay.
Write letters to all Niagara local area municipalities and Niagara region, and then it goes on. And then number 5, just scroll down to the end there, Alexa, please. It doesn't scroll past? Okay. I can assure you that it does say Niagara Regional Police and the RCMP at the end, which is also included. Okay? Perfect. And so I will open the vote, and there you go. Councillor Regima, may I get your vote verbally, please?
In favor.
Thank you. And I will close that vote. That carries.
Thank you very much. That vote is carried. And thank you, Councillor, for considering that motion this evening. We're now looking at item number 16, and we have no confidential matters this evening. Item 17 is a motion to approve bylaws. Oh, yes, just one moment. I have to go back. Oh, yes, okay. Just leave that for motion. We'll go back to item number 15, which is item 15.1, the mayor's report. And I would like to give a small report this evening, since this is the last meeting of 2025. So I say good evening to any residents who are watching this evening or who may be watching this over the next few days. As I noted, this is the last council meeting of 2025, and it's an opportunity to comment and be brought up to date on the high-quality response that staff and council have delivered to you based on the strategic projects of council, which reflect both federal and provincial, and in some cases, regional initiatives, and your own priorities. Staff prepared the 2026 budget under my jurisdiction, and the end result was adopted based on the response of council. Your input was considered, as always, to bring balance to shifting priorities, and I'm very confident that the result will meet your needs as the year progresses. A successful budget plan and execution bodes well for a strong public reporting and confidence. And since this is the season of giving, and as noted by councilors earlier, throughout Lincoln and Niagara, much is being shared with those who benefit from financial ease. Groceries, gift giving, energy support. I want to thank you all for all contributions that you have made and are about to make. And I want to thank also to the town staff for their volunteer work, for their support of nonprofit agencies, and responding to those calls that were put out to support those who were in the greatest need. To the service clubs, to volunteers, to public members of local boards and agencies, to the Lincoln Chamber for all of your leadership. It is important to hear the questions and the answers, to our local MPP and our local MP, and to the leadership of individual councilors. To all of you who responded throughout 2025 as progress was made on the number of roads, bridges, major culverts, archaeological orientations, all related to capital works and parks. We appreciate your tolerance of the inconvenience in our actions, but keep in mind that they are all in your interests, and many of them in order to reduce flooding and to reduce travel risk to you as well, to you and your families. To the region of Niagara, I want to thank the region and particularly the Public Works Department and the Roads Department, and also the Community Services Department as they begin to learn more and more about what is required in this community in terms of housing. I want to thank, again, our CAO for being the operations leader of the corporate leadership team and for ensuring that the strategic plan was turned into a very functional work plan for your benefit. I will close by looking forward to 2026, knowing that we have a good sound budget to guide us through. And I would say to you, and you may have heard this expression, this short sentence earlier this week, that leadership is not a performance. It is a professional discipline, a serious professional discipline, and it is meant to promote stability and direction. And so on behalf of council, thank you for your support and for your interest in the work of local government. I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Reimer, that council receive and file for information the following mayor's report. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The vote's now open. Councillor Regima, I'll ask for your vote verbally, please.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll close that vote. Thank you. That carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried. We move on now to confidential items. As I have noted, there are none. We have 6 bylaws for consideration today. Do any members have any questions? Okay, I'll catch up with you, Counselor, just a minute. I just wanted to get that. Can you show me that single sheet of paper? Okay, Councillor Mikulek, go ahead.
Thank you very much. It's with respect to bylaw 2025-65, the Culp Road Barn bylaw. I just, sorry, or 66, sorry, I forgot to change that note.
Do you want that lifted, Councillor?
I wasn't going to lift it unless feeling the need to vote against it or vote on it separately, but at this point, I just have a few questions regarding it.
Go ahead,
wouldn't mind
Councillor.
answering. So, like, with this bylaw, like, my understanding is that this is a piece of property that was severed off once upon a time with a heritage barn, and now it's, when I look at the site plan, there's bus parking, there's parking spots, there's 2 apartments, there's and some sort of educational or educational building or use being proposed. All of this on a greenbelt agriculturally zoned property. And I'm just curious, like, is this something that we can expect to see? I don't recall ever seeing anything like this, unless I'm wrong. Is this something we can expect to see moving forward in the future?
I'm sorry, which move
2020.
forward? Yes. What is it that you're expecting to see? The content?
Well, like this sort of repurposing of this sort of land.
I hear you. Mr. Bruder? Mr. Bruder, yes.
Thank
Any
you, Your
comments,
Worship.
Mr. Bruder?
No, this isn't something we're going to be seeing a lot of. This was a very unique situation. We had a barn structure here, very unique in terms of its previous use and its historic context in the town. It's a designated barn under the Ontario Heritage Act, but it's also surplus, or it was surplus, to the overall farm operation, which was Maple Leaf Nurseries. So, there was a little bit of a consideration that needed to be made, because if the barn is surplus and has no use, there was a concern that it could potentially not be maintained to the same level. There's no requirement for the property owners to maintain it. So adaptive reuse was considered, which in this case includes an agriculturally related use that is allowed on greenbelt lands. And that was for a company called Edge Factor, and they do student education for career opportunities. And for this particular site, that includes the agricultural industry. And that's been the plan all along. The only difference is, you're right, Councillor, about the greenbelt and there being some constraints, but when we considered this from an adaptive reuse perspective, from the agriculturally related use perspective, so we're keeping the use at least related to agriculture, there was a path forward. Also looking at it just in terms, you mentioned the residential units. Those are going to be within the barn itself. There was actually a design consultant and engineer with experience with heritage structures that was retained to make sure that heritage attributes were maintained. There's also a clause in the land use approval that precludes any residential structures from being erected other than what's happening within the barn itself, what you said was proposed. So all these considered, limiting the use of the land to really what's been proposed here. There was a way forward from a land use perspective. And no, it's not something we're going to see. It's quite unique to this situation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruder.
Fair enough. No, I just, I know that this is something that's been delegated to planning, and I'm aware of that. I just, and I'm also aware that, notice is given to everyone within 150 meters, but it's not until things actually start happening that all of a sudden everyone says, I didn't know. How could this be permitted and that sort of thing? And I just want to make sure, and I want to ensure that concerns that I, as a ward representative in that area, ask these questions, to ensure that, hey, this is the best we can do. And again, like, I'm not opposed to creating new apartments. I mean, we need this sort of housing, and I'm not opposed to new repurposing or saving a barn. I just want to ensure that we're not setting a precedent of some sort that others are going to come to us and say, well, how come you were able to do it here, and that sort of thing. So that's why I ask and bring it forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva, seconded by Councillor Murray, that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2025-61, a bylaw to establish and regulate payments of various fees and charges. 2025-62, a bylaw to provide for interim tax levies for the year 2026. 2025-63, a bylaw to delegate tax appeals under Section 357(1), D.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 to the Assessment Review Board for the Town of Lincoln. 2025-64, bylaw to provide for the appointment of a deputy clerk for the Town of Lincoln and to repeal bylaw 2021-18. 2025-65, bylaw to amend bylaw number 89-2000, 8928, as amended, being a bylaw to regulate traffic and parking on local municipal roads, Schedule A, stopping prohibited, and Schedule C, parking prohibited. 2025-66, a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement between the Corporation of the Town of Lincoln Artistic Ironworks Limited, together with any and all mortgagees that may be on title at the point of registration of the agreement. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and the vote's now open. Councillor Rajima, I'll take your vote verbally, please.
In favor?
Thank you. And I will close that vote. That carries, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The vote is carried, and we move on to item number 18, which is a motion to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting. I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell and seconded by Councillor Pachariva, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 2025-67, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Monday, December the 15th, 2025, being read a first, second, and third time. That bylaw number 2025-67 be enacted and passed, that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Vote is open. Councillor Rajima?
In favor?
Thank you. And I'll close that vote. That carries.
And that motion is carried. Before we motion to adjourn the meeting, do members have any comments? There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer, seconded by Councillor Rajima, that the council meeting on December 15th, 2025, being the last council meeting of the year, be adjourned at 2100 hours. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Vote's open, Madam Mayor. Councillor Rajima?
In favor, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. And that carries.
Motion is carried.